Hey guys, so we are going to do a really quick video today sharing what has become one of my favorite flows, right? We've been showing you a lot of blogs, but now I want to show you something else that is so amazing. It's one of those things, you created and you're like, oh, it can be used this way. And then you find out it can be used for so many other things. I want to do a whole separate video on all the other things, but we'll talk about that. But let me show it to you first, and then you can see the possibilities with this flow. So the flow that we are talking about is the podcast interview flow. And so we start on our dashboard like we normally do. And this time, instead of going in to write a new blog post where we spend a lot of time, we're going to go into work on your podcast. And in your podcast, we got 4 selections. You can do show notes, interview questions, submit your podcast to the directory, and then review the directory so you can find podcasts you want to possibly pitch to. So we're going to head on over into interview questions. This is where the magic really starts to happen, I promise you. And this particular flow is designed to help you find interview questions to interview a guest on your podcast or on your video show, but like anytime you're interviewing a guest. So it's specifically for podcast interviews, blog posts, or YouTube. I now not only use it for interviews, which is what we're going to do today, because I actually have an interview in about 20 minutes. So I wanted to show you guys this real quick. But I also started using it to interview my clients to help create content for their site. When we do their initial, when we do their onboarding and their content, we use some of the questions that come up in the interview questions. I've also used it to interview myself. If you go on over to my other channel, you'll see a whole episode I did where I literally interviewed myself, but I use it almost as topic ideas. I don't always do an episode like that. I was showing off the tool, but I use it as topic ideas because if somebody's asking in an interview, that it's probably something you should write about, even if someone is not interviewing you. So a bunch of ways to use it. Like I said, this has become one of my new favorites. We demoed this a few months ago at Afros and Audio, which is a podcast festival. And all the podcasters that gave this a try were blown away by the questions. And these are people who interview people all the time and they're super pros at it. And they were blown away by the questions that this gave and how they could use them. So let's start off for today. We're going to do the podcast interview. We are talking today with someone specifically about LinkedIn top voices. And this is a newer feature, so I'm very interested to see how much information it has about the new feature. So who's the audience? All right, so I've given it the topics, the audience, the goal of the interview. You always want to set a goal for your interview because most people think the interview is just to inform. But especially as interviews for business owners and for like mine is a businessy type of podcast, you also want to think about like what's the transformation. I always talk about the transformation, right? What's the transformation you want your audience to have, after listening to this interview? What kind of action are you trying to get them to take? So that's one of the reasons why we incorporated that into this flow, because it's not just enough to say here's some questions. It's really here's some questions that'll lead you to the transformation, that information that we want to make sure that you get by the end of the episode. And I'm going to say, selfishly, because I created it, right? But I'm going to say that's one of the things that really helps it make those super unique questions, right? So here's the interview questions on the LinkedIn top voices. So it starts out with some, explain what it is, what's the criteria for it. So all that's pretty good. How important is, I'm just skipping down some, how important is the content creation and publishing in LinkedIn? Then it gives you 5 controversial questions. Critics argue that LinkedIn top voices feature primarily favors established individuals. So that's definitely a good one we will be talking about. There are instances where people criticize for promoting biased or controversial opinions. Interesting. We'll be talking about that too. And then some basic questions here. What is LinkedIn and how does it differ from other social media platforms? How can individuals create a LinkedIn profile? Why it's important for professionals? So overall, a really quick flow, but you guys see how many, literally it gives us 25 questions because it gives you 15 kind of regular general questions, 5 controversial, and 5 basic. This is more than enough for an interview. Generally, I get through about maybe 6, 7, 10 if we get lucky, right? Interview questions in a general interview. And then, like I said, if I'm doing this for myself, I can easily take any of these and answer it, have that now be a piece of content for myself. Or if I'm working with a client, I have them answer 3 or 4, and it now becomes some of our next blog posts that we write for them based on their voice. So amazing flow. Hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see all the different things we are doing with SEO Assist and SEO and content creation, all the great things. Also, if you'd like to give this a try, sign up for either a demo if you want to come and see all the tools and kind of get walked through everything, or if you just want to jump in there, go to seoassist.com/try7 and sign up for a 7-day free trial. See you in search.